All right, that is my cue. Hello, everyone. In this virtual world, we come together. Welcome to this Groundswell annual showcase. And yes, that is me. And yes, I am coming to you from Grand Valley's WGVU studios. So honored to be here. And next year, we'll all be together again, up close and personal. But this is going to be a fun evening. And we thank you, of course, for being here. Excited to see the work, of course, of the West Michigan students who protect and will protect our local environment. Here we are. Groundswell is one of 7 hubs of the Great Lakes Stewardship Initiative, whose mission is to engage students, of course, in community-based projects to enhance learning and foster the next generation of environmental students, rock stars. One of the most important things Groundswell does is facilitate partnerships. Groundswell is not just a single entity. Its role to create a vibrant network of community partners, of course, working with classrooms, many of you in our classrooms. Groundswell is also a leader in stewardship and collaboration, and its efforts to bring K through 12 students outside into local communities, learning and connecting with their local environment. So this year, get this, over 4,000 students completed 27 projects right here in our West Michigan, projects that impacted the environment, projects that affected lives, projects that educated about our world. Groundswell is housed in the Grand Valley State University's College of Education, of course. To bring greetings from Grand Valley, I'd like to introduce Dean Cheryl Salmon. Dr. Salmon.
Thank you, Shelley. It's an honor to be here tonight to see all of the great work that students have done this past year. Our college's mission is to teach, lead, and learn in democratic societies. And one way to do that is to ensure that students develop the skills and capacities to engage with their communities. Groundswell stands as a model for doing this important work through collaborative partnerships with teachers, students, and community members. The College of Education is proud to support Groundswell so West Michigan students can learn from and contribute to their communities. We know that education rooted in place provides meaningful and life-changing educational opportunities. Tonight, our Groundswell teachers will share the great work accomplished by students doing in-depth community projects outdoors. I commend you all on your unwavering attention to excelling academically in what we all agree has been a very unique and challenging year. We're pleased to be able to acknowledge your efforts in this virtual format. Thank you to everyone involved on behalf of Grand Valley State University.
Thank you for your leadership, Dr. Dean Salmon. Appreciates you. Now, to introduce the Groundswell Manager, I have the pleasure bring you on screen Jessica Vander Ark.
Thank you so much, Shelley. On behalf of Groundswell, I would like to take a moment to acknowledge all those who made these incredible opportunities come to life this year in one of the most challenging school years we've shared together. A huge thank you to all of our community partners, both the old and new, who provided their time, expertise, and resources to our teachers and their students. Your abounding energy and support made all these projects come to life. We couldn't have reached this far without all of you. I'd also like to thank our students. You worked on projects that paid attention to addressing real community needs. You will be the future environmental leaders of West Michigan. I'd also like to give a special shout out to the teachers who have been brave beyond measure this year. Engaging yourselves with our virtual professional development, you supported each other's work, and you took the initiative to try teaching even more differently and modeling that commitment you all have to stewardship and the kind of leadership that transforms students and helps the community at the same time. Last, but definitely not least, we are so grateful to the funders supporting and prioritizing this work we do. The GVSU College of Ed is home to Groundswell, but it is a consortium of partners and funders that make it happen. We'd like to thank the Great Lakes Stewardship Initiative, Wege Foundation, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, MySTEM Network, Baldwin Foundation, Independent Bank, Buchanan Insurance Agency, and all of you individual donors that reached out this year. Thank you from the deepest parts of our hearts to you for your continued support.
Wonderful. Thank you, Jessica. And of course, everyone that makes Groundswell possible. I like your virtual background. Let's take a walk on those rocks. You're rocking it for sure. All right, so here we go. This year, I have the honor of speaking with several teachers and community partners, and we're going to do a panel discussion. So this will be fun. We're going to talk about what it's like to work with Groundswell and, of course, discuss the different kinds of projects and events that schools and partners are creating together. So we're going to get close up and personal. So I'm going to introduce the panelists. I look forward to this conversation with you all. First of all, we have Eileen Buchestein from the Lower Grand River Organization of Watersheds. Hi to you, Eileen.
Hi, Shelley. Hi, everybody.
Next, Amy Burton Major, principal at Forest Hills Central Woodlands 5-6 School.
Good evening, everyone. Great to see you.
We also have Dave Kraft, a high school senior science teacher at CA Frost Environmental Academy.
Hello.
Good to see you, Dave. Additionally, Chad Zuber is joining us. First year this was with Groundswell, and you are a third grade science teacher in in Academy in Zealand?
That is correct. Thank you for having me tonight.
You're welcome. Okay, here we go. Let's have a roundtable discussion. I have a feeling you're excited to answer. And this question is dedicated to the teachers, and I'll just ask, what was special about your students and your projects? And let me start with you, Chad.
This year, you know, like everyone has shared, it's been a very unique year, being virtual, being online, and also being in person. And so it's been great to get to know our kids in lots of different ways. And Groundswell has made this opportunity possible for us to get back into the earth, to get back into the ground. And that has been a positive experience, as my kids have loved gardening this year for our project.
Nice. Dave, what do you add to that?
A lot of challenges this year, but one thing, a lot of us knew we needed to get our kids outside a lot, and we do that at our school in a regular year. But I decided in advance, as soon as we were going back into person, that we were going to go outside every single day, rain, snow, or shine, which was, you know, instead of 2 or 3 days a week or even 4, it was every single day and all hour long. So I had to, you know, come up with some new things to do from time to time, but, you know, getting people outside that often was a really good thing.
Amy, what about you?
Exactly that. I think it's been such an interesting year where even our superintendent in our district was encouraging teachers, take your students outside, you know, get outside. And so really this idea of teachers thinking about things differently, what content might they be able to grow or do differently outside. And so just a really neat opportunity for teachers to try new things, and saw just a lot of, I think I heard the word brave earlier, a lot of bravery this year. So thank you.
Nice. Eileen, anything to add from your angle?
Yeah, as a community partner, it was just really exciting to see what teachers were able to accomplish this year. I know that I can speak for many of the community partners when I say that we really value the work that students and teachers do to help improve our community and improve the environment around here. And we were all like rooting for you guys and wanting to support you as best we could this year, and had many conversations with other community partners about how just inspired we were by what you guys were able to accomplish this year.
Amy and all, how did the students respond? I will start with you, Amy.
I was just thinking about something that teacher Patty Tolley shared with me when the kids very recently worked with Algro and planted some trees on our property. And it happened to be a day that it was kind of a yucky weather day. It was
cold.
It was like, oh, it was really cold.
It was wet. Yeah.
And just the fact that in reflecting with the kids, not one of them, you know, kind of brought up that the weather and how it was chilly and it was wet, but how they just really enthusiastically engaged with the project and really felt that feeling of being able to give back to their community, their school community, and leave this lasting impact. So that really stands out to me.
Dave, what about you?
Yeah, this year, as I mentioned, just getting students outside every single class period, no matter what. For the students to have that expectation, it ended up being a really good thing. I, over time, saw kids really eager to get away from their devices, eager to get up and move around. As opposed to when we typically go outside, maybe half of my class periods, they knew no matter what we're going out, and there was no question, there was no resistance. It was just, this is what we do now. And I think they got a lot out of it.
Chad, how'd the students respond?
They responded very positively. We started with a research project that led to our planting, but then what surprised me most was how many kids gave up their recess to come back to the areas that we've planted for our pollinator garden, and just to see their interest in that spread throughout our school. So students who weren't even involved in the project came over and helped us put mulch on and plant new plants. So that was really fun to see.
And again, Eileen, from your angle, response from students that you saw.
Yeah, we weren't able to spend a lot of time in person with students this year just due to constraints at the schools. But when we have been able to these last couple of weeks and months do a little bit of outside time with kids at different schools. And it's been so exciting to see just like Amy said, how engaged the kids are with the work that they're doing. And the tree planting at Central Woodlands was so much fun because those kids, they were so involved to see how just connected they were to that project from the beginning, and they had things that they wanted to see happen, and they connected with all the teachers and the administrators at the school. I could even tell, not being the one who's with them day to day, how meaningful it was for the kids to be able to participate in these kinds of projects. And I know that's the case with, projects that I wasn't involved in as well.
Well, a year full of interesting tricks and treats, but I'm going to phrase this next question. What went well this year? And I'll start with you, Eileen.
I've been really surprised at the number of things that actually did go really well this year. And one of them is just kind of connecting with teachers and students in new ways. And so in some ways, I've been able to kind of connect with and talk to a lot more students than I normally would in person because of all the new focus on virtual platforms, which, as environmental educators, it's not like our favorite thing to be doing stuff over Zoom. But it's been unique and interesting to be able to kind of Zoom into a classroom, just for a couple of minutes, get the kids thinking about something, and then let them take that and run with it and go out into their communities and their schoolyards. So I thought that was a really cool thing that we took away from this year.
Chad, what went well this year?
What went well for us was we were able to do actually a lot of trips over the last couple of months when some of the regulations have lifted from our school. We've been able to get out into the community more and out to some of the natural parks near us, and they're seeing the same things that we're doing at school also in some of those parks, which is really exciting to see.
Dave?
This year we were just fortunate to start an exciting new restoration project. So all of the in-person students, got to play a huge role in that for, months of planting work, which was pretty exciting. And then we also did a little divide and conquer where our virtual students did, more of the research, and then our in-person students would do that hands-on stewardship. So overall, it worked out.
Toot your horn, Amy. What went well?
I think just a couple of things that come to mind. One is just the opportunity for many more of our staff to start thinking along these lines. So an opportunity for professional learning that was offered to our teachers was, hey, want to talk a little bit more about getting outside? And it was actually on a day when our teachers had a half of a day for them to be able to do some record marking. And so one of our teachers, Mrs. Patty Tolley, and I talked about it, and she said, would this be a good day to do that? And I said, I don't know how many teachers are going to be joining in on that professional learning, just because they have so much to accomplish with their record marking and with their reporting. And we had almost all of our teaching staff attend this outdoor, how to take teaching outdoors professional learning, which was just, it was just this really wonderful opportunity for people to think differently, share ideas, do some collaborating, and think outside of the box. And then the other beautiful thing was, along with that, they were offered some tools. So some things, for instance, to be able to maybe more easily take kids outdoors. So as a part of participating in this professional learning, maybe you would have an outdoor voice amplification microphone, or you might receive some clipboards for your students to be able to do some writing while they're outside. So just not only the professional learning, but then the tools that went with it for teachers to be able to kind of like the next day jump right into that. And then I think the other thing is just the kids feeling that impact of their project on the entire school, and just feeling so proud of that. And like they've left this legacy and they've started something big and special. So from a kid perspective, from a teacher perspective, there was a lot that went well. So I could go on. Thank you.
Wonderful. Well, that'll segue into our next question for the four of you. We did have a challenging year of pandemic. What did you learn or do that you will keep doing in the future? And Amy, what do you respond to with that?
Well, I think the fact that it's become a bit contagious at Central Woodlands, I think the fact that teachers, knowing that if we can engage teachers in learning and give them the tools to feel confident, I think that's something that we would continue to do, is just offer opportunities for teachers to learn. And then from my role, I think just being supportive of when teachers want to try something different. I had a teacher this year who said, can I buy some like buckets to be able to take kids out into the woods? And then we would be able to like sit on the buckets and do some writing. And I was like, absolutely. So I think supporting it from my role of like, you can try different things, and maybe they will work, maybe they won't, maybe you'll tweak it. But that's something that it comes to mind right away.
What are you going to keep with you, Chad?
I think keep getting our kids back into the dirt and getting them back into the earth. So we had some great garden boxes for years that have gotten neglected, and then just finding opportunities to get kids excited about those gardening projects, get them excited about some of those things, and seeing that spread, like Amy was saying, that contagious spread between classes, and that growing into classes that weren't part of this grant at all.
Dave Kraft, your thoughts?
This year, just taking literally every hour outside. We couldn't do our groundswell project every day. So we got creative with the kinds of stewardship activities we could do on campus. And, really, we came up with lots of little side projects that we did this year. Things that ended up thinking, okay, let's just try and do this. Next thing I know, it's 5 class periods of a mini project. So, I mean, those kinds of things I'll definitely continue doing, and kind of actively looking for those stewardship opportunities all around, instead of just, a main project here and then the next one.
Eileen, what do you take forward into the future with you and yours?
Yeah, one thing that we did this year, like I mentioned, kind of doing some Zooming in or Google Meet with classes when we couldn't see them in person. We also developed some materials to give to teachers that they could put out, about their watersheds on their own. And it was really nice. I noticed towards the end of the year, when we were able to see a few people outside, to have them do that material or have us zoom in ahead of time. And then when we were on site, we were able to just get right into the hands-on stuff without having to do our introductory, what is a watershed, all that basic stuff. And so one thing that I've thought about and that I'm hoping to take forward into future years is to kind of keep up that structure of saying, hey, here's some stuff you can do beforehand that you don't necessarily need me as the community partner to do, so that when I come on campus, we can actually go right outside and start working on things together and actually get engaged in the project. And I was really excited to get to do that this year, and I hope to get to do that a lot more in the next upcoming years.
Wonderful. All right, let's toot the horn of Groundswell. My final question prior to our school presentations. Excited for that. How did Groundswell, of course, help you through the experiences through the pandemic, and what unique experience has Groundswell helped actually create this year? I'll start with you, Dave.
In addition to the normal Groundswell project work, which is fantastic, just having the community of people, especially this year, was really helpful. There's a lot of times where I know we all felt disconnected. We were working from home, and just having Groundswell continue to do a lot of their professional development events and community events, even if they were virtual, like everything was, throughout the year, it was just a great opportunity to stay connected with people, and something that I've really appreciated this year.
Amy?
I think there's a quote, I think it's Victor Hugo, that there's nothing more powerful than an idea whose time has come. And this is an idea whose time has come. I mean, for us, it's not a new idea, but I think for many of our teachers, it really has been. And so that idea of stewardship and the contributions to your community and getting kids outside and all of those pieces really just fit with what was going on in our world. And I think it was very engaging for the kids to be able to have these unique opportunities. So yeah, just really, really an amazing experience during a pandemic time. Their gratitude to be at school, but then to be engaged in these authentic projects as well. I think kids had that time off and away from school. And so they were automatically grateful to be back when they were, but then to be able to also do some of these unique things that they were doing that gave back to our school. Very cool.
Great. All right. Eileen?
Well, I want to echo what Dave said about just being connected to one another. Especially Groundswell has always been such a wonderful place to just build relationships across organizations, between teachers and partners, and some of my absolute favorite people in the world are all connected to Groundswell. And so to stay connected to everybody, each other throughout this has been really, really valuable. Just I think to me personally, as an individual, I'm so grateful to be connected to all of you still. And I've said many times to people over the years how valuable Groundswell is to us as an organization as far as protecting and improving the watershed of the Grand River. And I think it was just so cool to see that work was able to continue in such unique ways and meaningful ways, even throughout the pandemic here. And we are always excited to partner with teachers, and we have some new grant opportunities coming down the pike with Groundswell to provide more opportunities to students. And so, Groundswell really does help us meet some of our very clear objectives in watershed education and outreach. And so just to be able to say that we're still able to do some of that stuff and not have to just say, well, it was a pandemic, we couldn't reach out to anybody. That just in and of itself is a huge benefit to us as an organization.
Great, thank you for that. Chad, you get the last comment.
Groundswell was an inspiration for us. And so inspiration and funding for projects that we otherwise wouldn't have been able to do. And so we really appreciate working with Mara and Joan for from the beginning to really come up with the idea and then to make it a reality.
Wonderful. Well, you just made your roles a reality as panelists and sharing the good words from the work in the past year. So thanks, Eileen, Amy, Chad, and Dave, our team, when it comes to the panel discussion. So thank you all. Here we go. Thank you to those panel discussion personas, and goodness gracious, we are now ready for the school presentations. Are you ready? Say yes. This year we have teachers present on behalf of their classrooms and students. So Groundswell had 25 schools this year and a total of 27 projects. That's 27 ways to touch the environment. So rock stars you all are. So here we go. We're going to have fun. I'm going to call out the school and ask your teacher to give us the name, grade, subject before describing the project. So drum roll, we're going to begin. Let's begin with the A's. How about Allendale Middle School? Please let us know, yes, your name, grade, subject before describing your project.
All right, thank you, Shelley. My name is Keith Picard, and I am a 6th grade science teacher for Allendale Middle School. Go ahead and go next. What we studied this is, 20 years into this project. And this year, we studied a first order stream found on our campus, the Sevi Drain. And we used aquatic macroinvertebrates to assess the overall health of the Sevi Drain by identifying stream ecosystem attributes. Go ahead and go next. Now, what stream ecosystem attributes are, they refer to how a stream can show physical processes such as metabolism, any sort of structural changes through the watershed over time. You can identify disturbances and such. And how we measure that is by focusing on the aquatic macroinvertebrate feeding groups. So how do the invertebrates eat? And then based off of that, and being able to identify the resource, you can then assess these stream ecosystem attributes. So whether it be dependency on a particular, where the carbon source may be, whether it be from sunlight coming in, so it's feeding the plants via photosynthesis in stream, or if it's food falling in, we're able to see if there's any patterns in land development upstream, how it affects the stream downstream, biological changes. And again, I alluded to a little bit, seeing if there's any potential altercations to it. So this year we hypothesized that the Sevi drain is a slow moving heterotrophic fall winter shredder stream system, which I'll get into later. Has an unstable channel because we sit right on Old Lake Chicago bed. And it has an unhealthy predator-prey ratio due to an overabundance of prey that just reproduce a lot. So our methodology for how we ran this study, students are well trained in the sampling. And once we pull the macroinvertebrates, we identify them by their family name and functional feeding group, and then take those numbers of feeding groups, and then we calculate the ratios, and based on the ratios, you're able to figure out these ecosystem attributes. Here, aside from just sampling invertebrates, we also measured the abiotic factors as well. You can go ahead and go next. Here's a couple of the students pulling kick nets and D-net sampling and whatnot. Go ahead and go next. And here are our results, and what our results show essentially is that the Sevi drain, which is a first order stream, does have an unstable channel. It is a fall winter shredder stream system. It is dependent on leaf litter falling in, so it is a heterotrophic system. And this year, in fact, it did show a healthy top-down predator control ratio. We've taken our research and we present all over. This year we presented down in Pennsylvania at the Student Research Symposium. So the students were presenting asynchronously and got to interact with real scientists from around the country. It turned out great.
Wonderful. Thank you, Keith. Do you?
You bet. Thank you.
Allendale Middle School. We are now ready for Appleview Elementary School. Please let us know your name, grade, subject before you discuss your project. And we need you to go on mute. Take yourself off mute.
I'm Sue Blackall, and teaching science in Appleview's 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade. This is our my thing that I brought. Students are making signs for identifying trees and bushes that we're putting in our brand new Appleview nature trails. So, there we go. What it is 2.5 acres of, it had been just overgrown semi-woodland that was left fallow from farming when the school had bought it. It's connected right to our parking lot. And then one day I said to our principal, this looks like a nature trails waiting to happen. And he thought so too. So just before COVID hit, 12 classes had come out to cut invasive species, and then school was shut down, but community members and lots of people were helping, especially my husband with a chainsaw. And we got rid of a lot of Japanese honeysuckle, Scotch pine, Bartlett pear, and fields of poison ivy, spotted knapweed. And this past fall, we started planting. Our Groundswell project was to plant 240 native shrubs. And then from other grants, so far we put in 55 trees. Just last week, I think it was, 20 with Eileen. And we're planting 60 more shrubs and 5 flats of wildflowers this spring. Now more grants are opening up that had been closed because of COVID, and it's just going to be an ongoing project. We have a number of trails. Our local Sparta Hunting and Fishing Club brought some some oak logs for students to sit on, and some benches and some signs that'll be for the trails being put up. So the signs the students are making are going in 10 mil laminating plastic, and they're going to be screwed on to 2x2 stakes, one in front of each of the kinds of trees, species, and shrubs. And now they're really excited about the wildflowers. So probably we're going to have signs by wildflowers too. So been very exciting. The teachers, the most excited, they had up until last week, they had to stay right in their bubble and no field trips, no other teacher. And they just really appreciated the chance. Most of them have brought their classes out into the nature trail. And then also they'll sign up a time that I can bring their students out. So they've been extremely grateful. It was the only break they had, really.
Yes. Thank you for your leadership, Sue. Nice job. Wonderful. Next up, Blue Bridge Agile Learning Center. Please let us know your name, grade, subject before describing your project.
Hi, I'm Annie Friday, and I'm one of the facilitators at Blue Bridge Agile Learning Center. We are a school that serves children ages 3 to 13, and I teach all of them. So our project that we saw is our first year, and we had some space that had some challenges, including this kind of drainage ditch here that you can see on any rainy day, just filled with muddy water that was the drainage from a large parking lot. So you can show the next slide. Our goal was to improve the outdoor learning and play space and also improve the environment. So the students studied the flow of water all through the fall, every time it rained, where the water went, located storm drains, mapped it all out. You can go to the next slide. We worked with Elgrow in the fall to learn about the organisms in water, what pollinator-friendly plants can do to filter water, and put in the work to pull out the weeds and mud, and created a vision for our space that included a play area and a reading area, and some signage with our new pollinator-friendly plants. And that's it. We had a lot of fun getting outside.
Fun and education. You can't beat that. Thank you. Congratulations to your good team.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Brookside Elementary School, you're up. Let us know your name, grade, subject before your project, please.
Hello, I am Erin Fettig, and I teach first grade, except this year I taught a K1 split. Sorry. So we all, okay, so Brookside has the fortune of being backyard neighbors with a Croc Center. In that space, they rent out some community garden plots, and the Croc Center has been a great supporter of Brookside students. So I had an idea to start a school garden, and it seemed like a natural fit to reach out to them and ask them if we could use some space. They were thrilled and immediately agreed to share the 2 plots. I was so excited, and then I was really immediately overwhelmed because I don't know that much about gardening, and I don't know a lot about outdoor education. So I actually didn't have anything to even start a garden. We needed tools, we needed books, we needed seeds and plants. And so since partnering with Groundswell, we started composting in our classroom. We're taking that compost to our community garden area. We are growing our plants from seeds. We have a wagon filled with tools for the kids to do that. We have canvas totes to take our journals in, and we are getting our hands dirty regularly, which of course they love. So thank you.
Very nice, Erin. Rock stars. All right. Up next, let's bring you on. C.A. Frost High, your name, grade, subject, and then let's talk about your project.
Hi, I'm Dave Kraft. I teach high school environmental science. And this year we were really fortunate. It was a multi-year effort to daylight a stream on campus came alive this year. We have a county drain on our campus, and it used to be underground encased in concrete pipe. And then a lot of people put effort into this for several years to make this happen. And then this last summer, the county drain office opened it up, and we've got a daylighted stream on campus. It's a 300-foot stretch of now it's an open stream. And those are some of the early pictures from last summer. And so then our main project to kick things off was what can we do to restore this? And having the students do some research online when we were virtual at the beginning, and then coming in person to do some implementation for the first phase of our restoration project. And really exciting time. Really appreciate everyone who helped make this happen. And I'll turn it over to Micah Herbold to tell you more about what our students did.
Micah, on behalf of CA Frost Middle, take it away.
Yes, I'm Micah Herbold. I teach 6th, 7th, and 8th grade environmental science. So I do the middle school part, and our slideshows are kind of back to back here. Some of the pictures are similar, so if you want to pop through those. What we've started doing this year, as we do have this new stream at our disposal, is we've spent all of our groundswell funds for both the middle school and the high school on as many stream plants that we can get to help stabilize the stream bank. And so what we've done is we've used the students and their expertise in the plants that they've researched, and then we've taken them outside basically every day for the last couple months to get those plants planted on the stream bank, and then right there, right by the stream, to help minimize the erosion that happens there on our stream, to help with the ecosystem that's been developing there. And it's been pretty exciting. The kids really enjoy it. We get down in the muck quite a bit every day. And we just finished planting our last aquatic plant just this last week. So it's been a great time.
Wonderful. Congratulations to you and yours on behalf of CA Frost Middle and of course High. Let's move on. Next up, Central Middle. We need your name, grade, subject before describing your lucky project. Mute, unmute.
Hi, I'm Leah Savigny. I teach a 7th and 8th grade place-based environmental ed communication class. At CMS, our students focused on building wildlife habitat by increasing the health of our campus ecosystems. Like having a canary in the coal mine, our keystone species was the eastern bluebird. Students learned about native plants and added forbs, grasses, shrubs, and trees around campus. Within a few weeks of installing 11 nesting boxes, we had bluebirds, chickadees, tree swallows, and wrens move in. The data collection had begun. Central students also monitored the reptiles and amphibians living among us. As they built habitat, students had opportunities to get up close and personal with our campus insects. The 10 most unwanted invasive plants took hold on our campus, so building healthy habitat included identifying and removing invasives. They wrapped up the season creating weavings to get the word out about Oriental bittersweet in Ada and Cascade. This was an exciting year for students to witness that if you build it, they will come.
Thank you very much. Very nice. Congratulations to you and yours. Central Woodlands 5-6. Let's talk about you, your name, grade, subject, and your project.
Hi, I'm Patty Tolley. I teach 6th grade science and social studies. And our project this year was increasing the biodiversity of the Lower Grand River watershed. And in doing that, one of the things that our kids learned was not only did we need to increase biodiversity, but with doing that, we needed to get rid of a lot of invasive species. So part of ours was learning about watersheds, and Eileen came and did a watershed walk with us during a rainstorm, of course. Another day was getting rid of Oriental bittersweet. Oops, can we go back just 1 second? Okay, and then the kids did a lot of planning on how we could increase the biodiversity on our grounds. And then with the generosity of ELGRO, we were able to put 20 new trees on our grounds. And they came up with different plans for where they wanted the trees and what kind. So they had to do a lot of research on the native types of plants that would have been in our area at that time, where Rebecca came in from Reverie and helped us learned what was naturally on Central Woodlands grounds, and then they did their final presentations. And then go forward, please. And then this was the final plan that we came up with. And like Amy said earlier, I wasn't able to be there on the planting day, and that's why the kids told me all about it. And so this is now the new plants, the new trees that we have on our grounds. And we've also added many new plants to the front of our building where we have our native garden. So.
Wonderful. Thank you, Patty.
Yeah, thanks.
To Central Woodlands with you, Chris Patrick, name, grade, subject, and project, please.
Yeah, my name is Chris Patrick. I teach 5th grade at Central Woodlands, and I teach language arts and science.
Great. Talk about your project.
And I'll tell you about my project. We have an area behind our media center, a courtyard. At the beginning of the year, I started feeding the birds, and we had a lot of birds coming in, and we kind of became curious about, what sustains the birds naturally. It was then that we discovered we had some invasive species out in the courtyard. And so we decided to write a grant where we would remove the invasive species and plant some native plants that would provide food and shelter for the birds. At this point, we've removed a buckthorn, we've removed autumn olive, we've removed honeysuckle, and we've gotten through Plaster Creek and Kent Conservation District some native plants and grasses that we're going to be planting later this week.
In Forest Hills Public Schools began with our class feeding and observing our neighborhood birds. We soon learned that our feathered friends would benefit if we removed invasive species from the courtyard and added native plants that could provide food and shelter. With help from Groundswell, we've been able to remove invasives, a massive buckthorn, a growing autumn olive, and a stubborn honeysuckle plant, as well as many other smaller invasives. We were also able to purchase native plants from both Plaster Creek and the Kent Conservation District. Our ultimate goal is to provide a sanctuary in which birds can find both food and cover. We've already planted a serviceberry tree thanks to Patty Tolley and Elgrow, and on Friday, May 28th, we will be planting an array of grasses and wildflowers that will provide for native wildlife. Through this educational experience and the 5th grade life science unit, students have learned about our natural habitat as well as invasive species and the importance of native species for our watershed and the Great Lakes.
Wonderful. Thank you for that project. All right, we move on to Coit Creative Arts Academy. Please, your name, grade, subject, and your project.
Well, hi, I'm standing in here for our teacher, Lisa Ryers. She created the kindergarten Pollinator Garden project this year. They did a lot about pollinators and native plants to prepare them for the work in the garden. They took a virtual field trip to Kids Food Basket and learned about why pollinators are important, what plants need, how to take care of honeybees, and they actually got to taste honey from local honeycombs. They ordered seeds and they did a lot of observing and recording of their findings, and then they incorporated weather and plant needs into their project. They did some composting in their classroom and they learned a lot about pollinators. So she said flowers have been ordered and they're hoping the students can continue to plant their flowers in the garden before the year ends.
Wonderful. Thank you, Jessica, on behalf of Coit. Very nice. Good work, as always. We move on. Here's the garden. How about you, Collins Elementary? What do you have for us?
Hello, I'm Karen Kramer. I'm a virtual 4th grade teacher with students from not only Collins, but also Meadowbrook and Ada Elementaries. So our project this year was virtual Groundswell, and it included also the 4th grade students at Collins. You can go to the next slide. So we started our year raising our monarch virtually, and I we all had them in the little cages, and I put them up to the Zoom every afternoon so that the kids could look at the metamorphosis and the growing of the caterpillars. And they loved it, especially with everybody having been inside and being inside. So next slide, please. We filled our year with virtual field trips. We several times had guest presenters from the landfill and the recycling center. We started a classroom worm compost bin. So the virtual kids got to watch it and the in-person kids got to fill it. Next slide. We also did salmon in the classroom. And the best part of that for the virtual kids was we had a salmon cam that was featured in our daily Zoom. So every day they could watch the salmon going by while we were Zooming. And then we had a recorded release because we weren't allowed to get together. Some of our other virtual field trips taught us about watersheds. We had Eileen come in and help us learn about our local watershed, but we also took advantage of the Nature at School presentations from the DNR. And we learned a lot about Michigan habitat. And thank you. It was a great year.
You're welcome. Thanks to you, obviously, for the good work that you are doing. Congress Elementary, you're up. Name, grade, subject, and your project.
Hi, my name is Allison Howard. I teach 3rd grade at Congress Elementary. This is my 2nd year at Congress Elementary, and I recently took on the lead teacher position with our Groundswell grant. Our Groundswell project this year involves the rain garden that was planted at our school a few years ago. This year, this spring, once we came back in person, I taught my students about the water cycle, watersheds, and finally what a rain garden is and why we have one at Congress. One part of our project is allowing students to help design the rain garden with native Michigan plants. You can go to the next slide. And you can also go to the next one. There we go. I had my students design our rain garden virtually using Google Slides because we didn't have the plants, and we still don't have the plants yet, and that will be what we're doing next. But I originally had them design our garden virtually. I added a picture of our rain garden as the background, and I allowed my students to click and drag pictures of native Michigan plants in the design that they wanted. And so there are just a few examples that my students came up with. And then the second part of our project was writing a letter to Congress community members explaining why we need to protect the rain garden because it got mowed over last year, actually. So we're trying to promote our rain garden. And my students wrote letters explaining why we need to protect it and why it's so important to our campus. My students have really enjoyed this project, and we look forward to being able to actually plant plants soon. Thank you.
Thank you. Divine Providence Academy, we are ready for your name, grade, subject, and project.
Hi, I'm Tara Lafferty, and I teach pre-K through 8th grade science. You can go ahead and go on to the next slide. We have three areas that we were focusing on. This one is we call it the butterfly garden, but there's nothing attracting butterflies right now. So we started to do studies of the current plants that we have out there and then what plants that we can bring in. If you want to move on to the next slide. The other part that we have is a creek that's out behind our farmland that's back there. And at first we realized it was pretty thick with the woods and the plants that were out there. And then we came out one day and everything was bulldozed down. So we're new drain pipes were put in, but it's a pretty dry creek bed right now. And we also discovered some invasive plants. So we're currently working on the area extensively to make sure that we can get rid of the invasives and then also transplanting some native plants that are in the area. We'll go to the next slide. We're also taking water samples from the area because our main goal was to look for macroinvertebrates to make sure that we have a good diversity of animals that are out there. So we did that in a variety of ways. And we were able to find some microscopic ones too, if you want to move on. And here we just now started planting some native plants. We do have some yarrow that are going in there for the children, yep. And then for our pre-K, because the woods has extensive poison ivy, we're going out into the field as well and then studying the microinvertebrates that are in the grassy field for our little pre-K students as well. There you go. Thank you.
Wonderful. How cool does that look? All right, we move on to you, Godfrey Lee Elementary. Your name, course grade, subject, and your great project.
Hello, I'm John Malapard. I teach at Godfrey Elementary School and Godfrey Lee Public Schools. The photo that, can you show the photo that I sent? Thank you. This photo shows kids working to expand on the Pollinator Garden that our school's nature club created with Groundswell's help in recent years. It's located out front of Godfrey Elementary School. This work actually that you see here occurred last fall, well before our remote nature club was started up this year. Another person who's been super helpful is Deanna Gilhood of Placer Creek Watershed Stewards. She's really been tremendously helpful. In any case, several kids from my own 4th grade class enthusiastically agreed to help out with the work. As far as getting a remote nature club going for the whole school, and actually I'd like to make it available to kids from other schools in the district too. This year's, that's been kind of tough for me this year. And I was interested to hear some of Ms. Kramer's resources. It sounds like she pulled her thing off quite well. I'd like to check into some of those. Anyway, most of the kids from past years in the nature club were used to going on field trips virtually. No, in reality, pretty much every week. So yeah, I look forward to seeing the kids in person next year. I hope that works, next year that way. Anyway, with kids from my own 4th grade class, I hope we can get some more work done on this garden this year, clean up some weeding, some additional planting and such. So yeah, that's it.
That's it in a nutshell. That's a good it. Thank you very much. Godwin Heights Middle, tell us about you. Name, your grade, your subject, and your project.
Hello, my name's Bill Mall. I teach 6th grade math and science at Godwin Middle School, and I work with my Green Club this year to put together a project. And we did some great video training this year and had a great opportunity with WGVU for that. So we made a little video about the about our project. So that was our project at Panery Park, and it was pretty much what we thought it would be. It was there was pollution there, the soil lacked nutrients, the There was not much other than your pollution tolerant macros in the water. The pH was ridiculous in the pond. It was very much polluted. So we're looking forward to the bioswale project next year and hoping to work with the city of Wyoming to move forward on that for next year.
Wonderful. Thank you for your good work. Grand Rapids Montessori, we will hear from you regarding your name, grade, subject, and your project.
Thank you. My name is Matthew Evans, and as you said, I am with Grand Rapids Montessori. I teach 4, 5, 6, most subjects. So I want to start off by just thanking all of our community partners for collaborating with us. And also we are so grateful to be part of the Be Wet grant. We wouldn't have been able to provide these place-based outdoor learning experiences without the help of everyone. Next slide. We did a lot this year. We started when our kids were 100% virtual by distributing nature backpacks to all our virtual students so they could explore natural areas around their home and do some nature journaling about it. We also partnered up with John Ball Zoo to do a virtual week at the zoo to study species survival, conservation, water issues, and to learn how to be good stewards. Next. Once we got back into the classroom, we started learning more about pollinators. We built little greenhouses so we could grow milkweed to attract monarchs. And we learned about how these other organisms are connected to our watershed. Next. We used the Be Wet lessons and activities to help our kids learn about different natural resource professions and the tools they use to study the natural world. Next. We also partnered up with some of our community partners to learn about storm drains. We adopted the storm drains around our campus, and our students are committed to taking care of them, and they learned about how storm drains are a part of the watershed. We also explored our campus as well so that the kids could learn about the different natural resources we have on campus. Next. We worked with WEMIAC to study Cold Brook Creek. We studied macroinvertebrates from the creek, and we tested the water to assess the creek's health. Next. We also learned about watersheds, our local watersheds, and we learned about how watersheds work in general. Next. And then all of our work this year has culminated in the planning of a native plant garden on campus. The kids, after exploring the campus, wanted to revitalize the garden beds to help our watershed and just help protect and nurture the organisms and the natural resources we have on campus. Thank you so much for letting us share.
Nice, congratulations, good work from you. Grand River Preparatory Academy, take it away.
Hi, Jessica again. I am filling in for Jordan Dishinger-Smeeds. This year, they did a rain garden enhancement and stormwater runoff reduction project. They adopted a drain on their school grounds. They cleaned the area around the drain. They revitalized a current rain garden by adding wood chips and mulch and planting new native plants. They also had a lot of agency with the student voice, and they selected the location and method of some of the stormwater reduction in their project. So good job to them.
Great, thank you very
Hey
much.
Groundswell teachers and students, it's Mr. Smeeds here from Grand River, and what you can see in the background here is our native rain garden from last year. And what we have are some amendments going on. So we can take a look here at this bush honeysuckle that we planted a few years back. You can see it's really filling in here, catching a lot of the runoff from our gym roof there that comes down the downspout, but it's not catching all of the runoff. And so what students decided to do this year was basically augment our rain garden. And so we have removed the sod here, and you can't see it, but underneath this erosion control blanket, there is a storm drain there. And what we're going to be doing is piling some new topsoil and some mulch over the top of this erosion control blanket, and then we'll be putting in some native sedges and grasses here. We have some irises as well, and then we have some more native wildflowers that are going to be coming in. They're more shade tolerant, they're a great rain garden variety. Those will be filling in the center here, and so that will be our augmented rain garden, and we'd love to show you a video of that next year when it's finished.
Wonderful. Inside scoop on that teacher. He was just named the Michigan Charter School Teacher of the Year. So you've got a winner there. We are ready to have you back, Chad, on behalf of InAcademy. Talk about your name, grade, and obviously your projects.
All right, my name is Chad Zuber, and I'm with InAcademy in Zeeland, and I teach 3rd grade. And this is our school. We have a beautiful building on a pretty sterile grounds, actually, there. So we were working over the last year to create a master plan, and that's what our next slide shows, of what our school hopefully someday will look like. And our focus for this project was on 2 parts. The next picture will show these circle beds right here, which look beautiful in the picture, but they're actually bare, or they were bare. And we're working with a landscape architect from Native Edge to help design 5 thematic gardens, so that one would be filled with a lot of milkweeds, another one has a lot of sedges and other designs, so that we can collect data as to which ones we find the most larvae on from different butterflies and other pollinators. So that was designed by a professional. Our part was actually these garden beds, these 11 garden beds on the other side of the property, where things had been planted several years ago, but kind of overgrown over the last few years. And we planted, after researching several different native plants, we observed which ones would work on dry and sunny locations. Dry and sunny locations. And so that's what we found on our next slide there. So we used this website through Michigan State Extension program to research which ones would survive dry climates and sunny locations. And my 3rd graders figured out that several different plants would, including these ones that they've made posters for, that we're going to attach to QR codes and put up signs so that people could zap and see their posters and learn more about the plants. They were especially drawn to the wild lupin, as it was a host plant for an endangered Karner blue butterfly. And hopefully we can help bring that back. So these are the 8 plants, that we researched, and we've planted hundreds of them now in our garden beds there.
Very cool. Thanks, Chad, for all you do. Meadowbrook Elementary, take it away. Your name, grade, subject, and project.
Hi, my name is Bill Godin, and I teach 3rd grade, and what I teach depends on the time of day, so we kind of do it all. Before I start, I want to really give a shout out to Groundswell and say thank you so much. I'm a newbie this year, and it's been such an exciting year. You can see the picture there. We have a little nature trail that has fallen into disarray, and we've been working so hard this year to try and bring it back, and Groundswell has had a big part in doing that. So thank you so much for what you've done. Our plan has tried to be to encourage teachers to get their kids outside, and we wanted to take away any kind of obstacles that they had. So we wrote a grant to get carts for every grade level, including we have special ed classes here, and we wanted to make sure that they had the same opportunities that the other kids did. So we tried to stock them with some things that would be useful. Could you go to the next slide? So one of the things that we found were little pads that kids could use to kneel on or to sit on when the ground was wet and it wasn't going to be very comfortable for them. So that was just one of the things that we put in. Could you go to the next slide? We also added a few extra clipboards. All the kids have their own clipboards, but you never know when you're going to get out in the woods and somebody's going to say, "Teacher, I forgot to bring my clipboard." And so we didn't want them to have any excuses. So we wanted to be able to hand them another clipboard right on the spot. Could you go ahead and go to the next one? We also stocked each wagon with a couple of caddies. And in the one for 3rd grade, we've already put pencils and erasers, and we brought some extra tissue, some dry erasing marks, and an eraser for when we have to make notes out there. And we keep finding new things to add to them since we've done that. We also stocked everything with a little waste basket because we want to make sure that we leave no trace and that when we're done, the area looks better than when we found it. So the next step was to start getting outside, and we did it as soon as we could put the carts together. So the kids are enjoying it so much. We find a nice shady spot. And like I say, I'm a newbie, and so we're still trying to figure out everything to do with science. But right now we're getting out just to read or to write or to do a quick math lesson. And the kids get so excited when they get to leave the classroom. So my big challenge for next year is that as COVID is leaving, to make sure that we don't go back to doing things the way we did before, that we use COVID as a challenge to move ahead. So thank you very much.
Thank you for your good words and your good work. New Branches Charter Academy, take it away. Name, grade, subject, and project.
Hi, I'm Kate Hazenbank and I'm the environmental science specialist here at New Branches Charter Academy. You can tell I'm still here in my classroom. I teach kindergarten through 8th grade, and I've been here for 4.5 years, and I've been working with Groundswell for all of that time. So my first spring in 2017, we put in a butterfly garden, and we, for this year's project, wanted to extend that butterfly garden because it's a small area right now. So we wanted to extend it and make a second outdoor classroom. We have the first one is, and our only one right now, as you can see, the picnic tables. This is our school garden, and we have a pavilion built for shelter, picnic tables for seating, and some stumps for seating as well. So what we did was I worked with my 3rd and 4th grade students. We went out and sat in the pavilion, the only outdoor classroom we have right now. Right now, our eco art teacher and myself are the only ones that use it. So we're trying to figure out why the other teachers aren't using it. And we wanted to also get students involved in the design. So we talked about what do they like about this classroom? What do they not like? And we also talked about what are the needs what are needs versus wants? So what are the non-negotiable essentials that our second outdoor classroom must have? And we decided it must have seating, teacher space, and some kind of shelter. So then we try to go on different websites and Google searches and have the kids try and pick out designs, but it wasn't working very well in the classroom. So I went and chose about 4 to 5 different ideas for each of our 3 needs, the teacher space, the seating, and the shelter, and then had them use those as inspiration for them to design as a group of 2 or 3 their own, what they would like to see the outdoor classroom look like. Then I went to the teachers, both lower elementary and upper elementary, and asked why they don't use the current one, what they need in their outdoor classroom to be functional. And the number one thing was a whiteboard. So all of the designs had a whiteboard, and we are in the process of presenting designs to the board so that we can get started on construction and planting more native plants. The kids loved it. So it was really, really great to see them active, and they loved being part of the design process. So that was fun.
Nice. Thanks for your work, Kate. Kudos. Northern Hills Middle, what do you have for us? Yes.
Hi, Northern Hills Middle was a first-year school, and this year they did a project on creek monitoring and native plantings. They monitored the health of the creek that runs behind the ravine behind their school. They looked for macroinvertebrates. They tested water quality and looked for signs of erosion. They learned to appreciate and navigate and care for their outdoor spaces, and also how to monitor their water quality through testing the parameters and IDing all these fun macroinvertebrates. So they really appreciated getting to understand the health of their creek better.
Wonderful. Thank you to Northern. Peach Plains Elementary. We're ready to hear about you with your name, grade, subject, and describing of your project.
Hi there. My name is Missy Mayer. I teach 4th grade at Peach Plains. And I was fortunate enough to work alongside of my awesome teaching partners, Annie Ratke and Erin Clanderman, as well as our amazing STEM teacher, Mr. Ratke. And we did a lot of work with Jessica and Frank, and we were really grateful to have our awesome resource right down the street called Potawatomi Park in Grand Haven. And we were not allowed to take field trips because of COVID this year. So it was really awesome to be able to get the kids outdoors and walk them down the road to our local park. Thank you to Mr. Ratke for writing an awesome grant which allowed us to purchase waders and nets and trays and buckets and all sorts of really cool resources for the kids to use and really get in and dig in. And they just had so much fun. We're still actually in the process of collecting data, and the kids kind of went with their own ideas and projects. A lot of the kids were interested in macroinvertebrates and aquatic insects, whether they were native versus invasive. This slide right here is a group in my class was really concerned about pollution that they found at the Potawatomi Bayou and how it flows into the Grand River out into Lake Michigan. So they would like to study more on how to perhaps put up some trash receptacles or recycling bins at Potawatomi Park, and also collecting fishing line because it's a really popular fishing spot. So the students wanted to make sure that animals didn't get tangled up into fishing line that got thrown out. Is there another slide? Thank you. This is Mrs. Ratke's Rock Stars. These are some pictures of the day that we all three classes walked together to the park and worked with a lot of different field experts, including Jessica. And we learned a lot about invasive species. We learned about the wastewater treatment plant in Grand Haven, which was fascinating. And the kids just really got excited after this day. So thanks to Jessica and Andrew and the team for putting this together. Are there any more? I'm not sure if there are any more slides. Okay, that's it. So thank you. It's been awesome.
Thank you. Yes, on behalf of your great team. All right, there we are. Shawmut Hills K through 8, your name, your grade, your subject, and the great project you've done.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Nielsen. I teach kindergarten at Shawmut Hills. So this year we started diving into what sort of place-based education experiences we already offer our students and how we can implement more. Next slide. So we have an established garden that my classroom started a few years ago, but it's mostly been just my class involved. So we started looking at what the barriers are for other classrooms being involved in outdoor learning. And some of those barriers were access to tools for learning outdoors, ideas for lessons and management activities outdoors, and then just teacher education. Why are we doing this? Are we invested in it? Do we value it? Next slide. So I participated in the GRPS Green PD series, and part of that work connected me with the Outdoor Discovery Center to participate in a virtual field trip. They provided us with some phenology journals, and thank you, and some outdoor learning kits for making some observation outdoors. Next slide. So as other classrooms saw me using these tools outdoors and talking more about place-based education, they became more interested in the garden and getting their kids outdoors as well, which led us to our Groundswell work. Next slide. The Groundswell grant has provided us with some outdoor learning kits, more clipboards, journals, tweezers, wagons, so that we can really go beyond the garden and use our schoolyard to its fullest extent. We also had some yoga mats donated by Grand Valley's Health and Fitness Center that were used, and they were just going to throw them out. So we took advantage of that. Next slide. Here are my students with our wagon, using our schoolyard space and their new learning kits. Next slide. So a highlight for us has really been observing students create a friendship with nature. So our second grade teacher had a brilliant idea when they were out doing their phenology journal studies that each student identified a tree as their own. And so they had a space to go to every time they went out to do their phenology journal studies. Next slide. So coming up next, we have Pollinator Gardens, which seems to be a great theme here, but our students noticed that we have some flower beds and spaces throughout our schoolyard that have been neglected. And so we have been studying pollinators. We have purchased some plants and we had seeds donated through the Junior Garden Master Garden Program with the 4-H. And so we're looking forward to putting in some pocket pollinator gardens throughout our schoolyard. Next slide. And to touch on one of our barriers being teacher knowledge, we've been able to purchase some books on place-based education so that our teachers who want to can participate in a summer book club. And we have a few teachers who are really excited about that. So this project started a few years ago with one classroom, and now we have 7 classrooms interested. So it's just been really great to see this contagious effort grow throughout our school. Thank you, Groundswell, and everybody else who has helped in our efforts at Shawmut Hills.
Wonderful. Thank you, Stephanie, for your good work. All right, we started with the A's. Now we're down to the W's. Your finale on behalf of Westside Christian School. Your name, your grade, of course, and subject before your project.
Well, I'm ending inspired. Thanks for everybody for what you've said, and I can't wait to take this to our school. My name is Janet Stahl, and I work as the Director of Nature-Based and Outdoor Ed at Westside Christian. So I partner specifically with the Groundswell Project in our 7th grade class, but we're excited to take our 2nd graders into the learning as we wrap up the year. But it starts with a driving question of how can we help our community's freshwater streams? We started our second Groundswell project was raising salmon in the classroom. So that continues year after year as we successfully raise and release them into the Grand River. But then we noticed through Algro's data that our freshwater salmon, or trout, we should say, are having a hard time. So our students are kind of motivated to say, as we care for these fish in school, what can we do on our land to care for the freshwater fish in our nearby watershed? So in the fall, the Grand Rapids Public Museum becomes our classroom for the students, and they are immersed in the learning about the Grand River, both the past and the present. And then as we progress through the school year, we attach a kind of a career to this project. So the students kind of apply for how they want to develop skills that they have as we work to solve this problem. So we had some artists, we had some lawyers in the past, we've had videographers, and some future CEOs, which comes from our school composting system. So these different careers kind of all see how they're related to our project. But then the big one, the civil engineers, were the ones who looked at our problem on our campus, specifically with the erosion issue. And so they've been doing a lot of work. So this project actually started last year. It was halted due to the shutdown. And it was kind of like one of those, the story of Pompeii, where things were just left. And so it was neat that the current 8th graders kind of partnered with this year's 7th graders. And so for this project this year, as we've been working around this theme, the final project is finally happening. We had some setbacks with the city, finding out that there was a pipe where they had planned to put it. So we had to change the design, which was neat because permits and city and zoning have all kind of been a part of our learning too. So next week is the final installation. So this is kind of how the students presented the project to our administration for approval. And we're excited that through Groundswell and all of these awesome community partners, our campus continues to change from being what was once grass and sediment that was going into our storm drains, now will become a diverse habitat that multi-grades use for different aspects of their learning. So I'm excited. And as I end, I just say this collage of all of these videos. I can't wait to show with more of our teachers because I'm left inspired. So I guess you'll probably do some conclusion, but just thanks for everybody for all that I learned from you. And we're excited to finally see this project through completion. Oh, and I should say one more thing. This mural came to be because the artists were inspired by what we learned through the Grand Rapids Public Museum with Alexis Rockwell. So this is their own take on his Grand River life cycle mural there. So, but yes, good work.
Good work to you, Janet. Thank you for your, and yes, as the sign says, thank you teachers for sharing your stories. Fantastic, obviously gathering of the talents. Amazing, of course, what your students accomplished this year, and it's great to see it all happen despite a pandemic. So there we go, Groundswell happens because of the great work of teachers, students, administrators, grounds peoples, community partners, and of course, don't forget the Grand Valley State University College of Education. I want to bring you on, Clay Pellin, Associate Director, big responsibility you have. Thank you for coming to the plate and swinging a home run, seeing fantastic presentations. Classrooms did use Groundswell's support to learn and connect with the community. So a big question to you, what happened behind the scenes at Groundswell, I guess, to make this all happen?
Well, this year we did a lot of what we normally do, but we had to totally change it, of course. But we ran our Groundswell Connects where our partners can talk to our teachers. We created a great professional development. We had community events still. We couldn't have them in person, but we went online like this evening. So we held one-on-one teacher meetings. We worked fundraising, write grants, provide money for all these great school projects. And we do this work so the teachers obviously can do the great work with the students. And that's really what it's all about.
The school project money, from where does that come?
Yeah, so we're so blessed to have like the Michigan Department of Environment, Great Lakes and Energy, Department of Education, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, the EPA, local businesses like Independent Bank or Buchanan Insurance. But also importantly this year, individuals have been giving money supporting Groundswell, and this funding makes it possible for the kids to go out and do these great projects like you heard.
Little birdie tells me there's a challenge grant.
Yes, just like WGVU has your pledges, your challenge grants, we got that too, right? So this year with the Great Lakes Fisheries Trust is basically every dollar that is given to us, by a new donor is matched. So in this matching money that we're raising and the money we're raising this year is going directly to school projects.
Good, as it should. Thank you. And I know I've had the honor to work with you and Groundswell over the years. We see more and more what is happening with our students, and certainly in the future. Our future is safe with these kids. So I guess thanks for chatting. And
thank you. And the link to give is in the chat right now. So if you have a chance, please make sure to check that link out.
Wonderful. All right. Here you go. We need our closing thoughts to get you tucked in safely at night. Rhiannon Mulligan. John Ball Zoo does rock star stuff in our own backyard, but you, chair of the Groundswell Advisory Council, with our closing comments.
Thank you. On behalf of the West Michigan environmental community, thank you, students and teachers. Your efforts have provided inspiration and vibrancy to our joint work. Parents, thank you for seeing the value in what we are doing and supporting your children in this endeavor. For our amazing teachers this year, John Ball Zoo is providing you zoo passes, and Groundswell is getting you tickets and popcorn to Celebration Cinema. A little something to say thank you. Thank you to Shelley Irwin for her great job moderating tonight. And thank you to the GVSU Regional Math and Science Center and MySTEM Network's Greater West Michigan region for helping produce the showcase. Finally, thank you to the Groundswell and College of Education staff, Jessica Vander Ark, Mara Spears, May Ma, Veda Hodges, David Baer, and Clay Pellin, who worked with all of us to make sure we had a robust Groundswell experience this year. To learn more about Groundswell and to see all the videos shown tonight, please visit gvsu.edu/groundswell. Also, if you know of a local group or school that would like to join this initiative, please let us know. Thanks everyone for a great night.
Ditto. Bye everybody.